सबसे पहले मैं ये बताना चाहूँगा कि इस अभिनंदन के पात्र आप सब लोग क्यों हैं। आपकी संकल्प और आपके प्रयास का विकसित भारत के प्रपेक्ष में क्या महत्व है। विकसित भारत 35 ट्रिलियन डॉलर की इकोनॉमी, 5 ट्रिलियन डॉलर के करीब करीब हमारी आज की अर्थव्यवस्था, ये सब इलेक्शन के कैंपेन नहीं है। जिन लोगों ने इस इलेक्शन का कैंपेन समझा है, इसमें खामियां ढूंढने के कई कारण ढूंढ सकते हैं, लेकिन जो लोग इनके पीछे काम करते हैं, जो लोग इनके साथ जुड़े हुए हैं, 2013 से 2023 तक के अनुभव को अगर मैं 2 शब्दों में 2 लाइनों में समेटूं तो 2013 में आप एक जर्जर, डगमगाती, लड़खड़ाती अर्थव्यवस्था थे, जिसे बाहर के अखबार फर्जाइल 5 इकोनॉमी कहा करते थे, और आज आप करीब 5वीं सबसे बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था है, 5th लार्जेस्ट, हाईएस्ट, फास्टेस्ट ग्रोइंग इकोनॉमी। एक वक्त था जब दुनिया हमें कहती थी कि तुमसे न हो पाएगा, और आज 2013 से 2023 मैंने इसलिए कहा, 24 इसलिए नहीं कहा कि 23 में आप G20 को देखिए। पूरा विश्व आपके प्रधानमंत्री के पीछे ये पूरे विश्वास और अटल निर्णय के साथ खड़ा है कि अगर होगा तो आपसे ही होगा। और मैं जिस चीज़ के होने और ना होने की बात कर रहा हूँ, अब उसकी डिटेल पे आते हैं। सर्कुलर इकोनॉमी, सस्टेनेबिलिटी, क्लाइमेट फाइनेंसिंग, ब्लेंडेड फाइनेंसिंग, ब्रिंगिंग प्राइवेट कैपिटल टू मेन स्ट्रीम इकोनॉमी, ज़रूरतें हैं जो ग्लोबल लेवल पे हैं। हम कितना कर पाते हैं और वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड में हम कितना कर पाए हैं, इन सब को जोड़कर अगर यदि आप देखें तो आपको विकसित भारत का 2047 का टारगेट और 2047 का स्वरूप नजर आएगा। विकसित भारत किसी एक कंपनी, किसी एक सेक्टर, किसी एक भाग और अनुभाग को डेवलप करने का विकसित भारत नहीं है। इट्स अबाउट पीपल, एंड पीपल आर हाईली कंसर्न्ड, एंड आई डोंट फाइंड एनी डिबेट इन हैविंग अ डेमोक्रेसी लाइक इंडिया, जहाँ चुनाव के समय में बहुत सारे लोग बहुत सारे वादे कर देते हैं, फिर बाद में वो पूरे नहीं हो पाते तो लोग उनसे मांगने जाते हैं। इट्स अ हेल्दी डेमोक्रेसी। व्हाट ऑल वी एक्सपेक्ट फ्रॉम आवर गवर्नमेंट is to give us a good per capita income. Being a technocrat and being a banker before, मेरे लिए ये किस माध्यम से पूरा होता है और किस रास्ते से पूरा होता है वो मायने नहीं रखता, लेकिन प्रत्येक व्यक्ति की आय उतनी होनी चाहिए जितनी एक विकसित राष्ट्र में आज है, तब विकसित भारत का संकल्प पूरा होगा। लेट्स कंपेयर द per capita income is around 2100 to 2400 US dollar today in India, Indian per capita income. And a global per capita income of a developed country, जिसको प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी कहते हैं भारत मतलब विकसित राष्ट्र बनना चाहते हैं, इस 1200 to 1300 US डॉलर पर पर्सन पर कैपिटा। 2100 से 2200 पर कैपिटा इनकम वाला देश, करीब करीब 4.25 ट्रिलियन डॉलर की इकोनॉमी, 35 ट्रिलियन डॉलर की इकोनॉमी बनने का ताल ठोक रही है। 5 ऐसे स्टेट हैं जो अकेले 1 ट्रिलियन बनाने को तैयार हैं, तमिलनाडु, महाराष्ट्र, उत्तर प्रदेश, गुजरात भी पीछे नहीं है। इन सब के कैंपेन आपने देखे होंगे 1 ट्रिलियन डॉलर इकोनॉमी के। व्हाट इज द मैथमेटिक्स एंड द कैलकुलेशन बिहाइंड इट, एंड हाउ सस्टेनेबिलिटी, रिडक्शन ऑफ योर ऑयल इम्पोर्ट बिल, रिडक्शन ऑफ योर लॉजिस्टिक कॉस्ट, द एनर्जी दैट यू आर स्पेंडिंग ऑन सिटीज are connected with this thought is what we would like to hear. मेरे लिए ये कैलकुलेशन बहुत सिंपल है, और आप में से जो भी इसको कैलकुलेट करना चाहते हैं कर सकते हैं। Recent study done by BCG says one person who has taken birth after 2020 would spend in his lifetime around 240,000 US डॉलर। एक आदमी 2020 के बाद जो बच्चा जन्म लिया है वो अपने जीवन काल में 240,000 US डॉलर खर्च करेगा मरने से पहले। योर पॉपुलेशन ऑन 31st August 2047 विल बी 168 करोड़ पीपल एज पर द प्रोजेक्शंस। इफ यू मल्टीप्लाई बोथ ऑफ दिस नंबर यू विल गेट एन इकोनॉमी विच हैज एन स्पेंडिंग पावर ऑफ 38 ट्रिलियन डॉलर। व्हाट वी नीड टू डू नाउ इज टू स्टे स्टेबल एज अ कंट्री, स्टे फोकस्ड on the growth that we are recording every year. We are ultimately reaching to that target, but it's not like everything is happening in default. इतने बड़े ट्रांजिशन में करीब करीब एक दिन में, एक घंटे में, एक मिनट में कितने लोग एक रूरल डेमोग्राफी से उठ के अर्बन डेमोग्राफी पे जाते हैं, किसी को कुछ अंदाजा है? 1 मिनट में 30 आदमी गांव से उठकर भारत में एक शहर की तरफ माइग्रेट कर जाते हैं. दिस इज द रेट ऑफ योर immigration and urbanization. This is highest ever in the history of mankind, which you are dealing with here. And all of them who are migrating from one place to another place are needing a house, needing a space to work, field, food, energy, everything. And the growth on which your economy has grown and the speed which it has taken now is unprecedented again. पहले 1 ट्रिलियन बनाने में हमें 65 ईयर्स लगे. आज हम करीब करीब $5.25 ट्रिलियन की इकोनॉमी है. 65 ईयर्स लगे पहला 1 ट्रिलियन बनाने में, दूसरा ट्रिलियन बनाने में 8 साल लगे, तीसरा ट्रिलियन बनाने में 5 साल लगे और करीब चौथा ट्रिलियन बनाने में उससे भी कम लगे. सो अगले कुछ सालों में जिन ट्रिलियंस को आप ऐड करोगे, इट ऑल्सो गिव्स यू अ थ्रेट ऑफ बिकमिंग अनदर चाइना एंड यूएस if you do the same mistake what they have done with their urbanization. So the sense of this thought of having a sustainable city is the thought that the West has subscribed and has put in their trust and confidence on the Prime Minister Modi. The mission Life is not a mission only propelled by India, but it is also highly endorsed by G20 countries in the Delhi Declaration. If you will read the Delhi Declaration, then they have trusted that अगर दुनिया को कोई जीवन शैली सिखा सकता है तो वो भारत सिखा सकता है. और ये कंट्राडिक्शन आप सबको थोड़ा थोड़ा फील होता होगा कि इतनी अच्छी लाइफस्टाइल तो वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज में है, सो हम उनको लाइफस्टाइल कैसे सिखा सकते हैं, अ लाइफ फॉर एनवायरमेंट. सो दैट्स द पॉइंट विच आई वांटेड टू शेयर इज you have to understand the deterioration which we have gone through by the colonization. The colonization has deteriorated your pure ancient wisdom, the Vedic values. The value that you had, your ancestors had, your grandparents and forefathers had, are more close to the nature. So the world before colonization was only on a centric thought process of that what we call is Abrahamic, which prescribed and subscribed by Western, European and American countries. And this says human is the supremacy. Human, जो मनुष्य है वो सबसे सुप्रीम है. मनुष्य जब सबसे सुप्रीम होता है तो नेचर को एसेट मानता है, नेचर को मटेरियल मानता है और नेचर को एक रिसोर्स मानता है. उसको टेम करना, एक्सप्लॉइट करना, बिकॉज वी आर ऑन द पिरामिड आर द सुप्रीम स्पीसीज. एट द अदर साइड इफ यू विल गो एंड सी द वैदिक कल्चर, it says human is just a part of the nature. You have to live with the nature, you have to live on their rules. You have to, आपको एक विशिष्ट सामंजस्य समायोजन बनाना पड़ेगा प्रकृति के साथ रहने का. और ये अब्राहमिक कल्चर, वैदिक कल्चर पर धीरे धीरे कॉलोनाइजेशन के साथ हावी होता रहा. आते 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 आज के समय में हम यूज एंड थ्रो इकोनॉमी और कल्चर बन गए. रीयूज रिसाइकिल के जो सारी थ्योरीज, ESG, सर्कुलर इकोनॉमी, वो सारी चीज़ें जो आप पढ़ रहे हैं आज के समय में, this all used to be in practice in India since thousands and thousands of years, without even having an ESG compliance, without having a rule book. The first rule book of environment in India was at the age of Kautilya, written in the Arthashastra. Before that, ये माना जाता था कि धर्म, समाज, ज्ञान, अर्थ और उत्पादन, इन सबको आपस में प्रकृति के साथ सामंजस्य बैठाकर चलने की जरूरत है. और उस समय धर्म इज यूज्ड टू बी अ रूल बुक. द वे यू हैव बीन प्रिस्क्राइब्ड टू बिहेव एज पर योर रिलीजियस लिटरेचर और रिलीजियस प्रैक्टिसेस, यू हैव टू वर्क इन दैट सीक्वेंस. द फर्स्ट टाइम when India started growing, we felt the need of having a rule book which is there in the Kautilya, that it's very interesting to go back and see and read that why they had to write it. They were practicing it from before in their life, but they had to write it because people were not so disciplined. They were not so religion oriented. आप अपने धर्म को देख लीजिए, आप पेड़ की पूजा करते हैं, नदी की पूजा करते हैं, जंगल की पूजा करते हैं, सांप की पूजा करते हैं, गाय की पूजा करते हैं, हजारों हजारों चीज़ों की पूजा करते हैं जिसमें देवी देवता नहीं है, सीधे नेचर की पूजा करते हैं. When they started deteriorating, तो पहले अर्थशास्त्र में कौटिल्य ने, चाणक्य ने पहली बार लिखा that you will not cut an existing tree if you want to use the wood. Take a land, grow a tree, cut it and then use it in the cities. If you cut a tree, the punishment was second punishment to what is the punishment for hurting an animal or hurting a human. That strict. So going ahead, the infrastructure development sense of what we are applying to different locations and different parts of the country is little unbalanced, little out of the sense. You seems to know that how to use the technology, but at times you run out of the intelligence that where to use that technology or not. The recent example is what infrastructure development technology of road, highway and transport that you have in Delhi. If you apply same on Ladakh, what will happen? If you apply same on Himachal, what would happen? All of us are seeing what is happening. Now find that whether you are much smarter or your ancestors were much smarter who chosen not to develop those regions in a certain manner. ऐसा नहीं है कि ग्रैंड ट्रक रोड जो बना रहे थे मुगलों के पहले वो एक ग्रैंड ट्रक रोड इधर हिमालय में नहीं बना सकते थे, वो इधर भी बना सकते थे, राइट? लेकिन दे हैव गॉन विद द रिवर. So the logic behind it is sometimes misplaced by our thought process that where we should do what and whether we should do it with the nature or not. This basic understanding is now coming in the subscription. The problem is the transaction of the knowledge which we had to take from our wisdom, from our ancient wisdom, is stopped in between. The transaction is not yet completed. The think tank which I see today, who are very obsessed with the global ranking, who are very obsessed with the global compliances, they need to go back and see that there are, I would not call them Mool Jati, but there are Jan Jati and there are Pancham Varnas who are living in the rural areas and who are living in the jungles, giving you a good definition of what sustainability and living with nature could be. This transaction need to be developed inside and need to be looked into inside. However, unfortunately, we are looking outside. So my prescription to think tanks, to organizations who are looking on the western part of the, understanding western part of the circular economy, is to look within the culture which we have developed over a period of time and which we have lost over a period of time. India is not China. India is an open democracy. Anybody can come, anybody can pitch anything. Whether it's an ESG compliance, whether it's a circular economy, whether it's a new theory coming, you have to be wise enough to choose what is good for you. And you should be intelligent enough to understand that why this has been brought to you. The global narrative has not went ahead or has not went out of the colonial mindset. They stopped ruling you, you got independence, but we are still subject to a certain narratives which are imposed on us. I can give you a series of narratives, but here I'll only limit myself to compliances which are related to sustainability. खाद लाने से लेकर के ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग लाने से लेकर के सारे सर्टिफिकेशंस वेस्ट से आते हैं आपके पास. एक आदमी आज से 50-60 साल पहले, 100 साल पहले बताता है ये आपके खेत में क्या हो रहा है. आपके खेत में तो बड़े छोटे छोटे वो हो रहे हैं, आप डालो ये खाद, इसमें बड़े होंगे हमारे जैसे, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ है, आपको डालना चाहिए. एंड यू बिकम अ कल्चर ऑफ फर्टिलाइजर. After 50 years, same company, same country comes back and tells you, what are you doing? These are pesticides. You are eating it. You should go for organic. And both certifications, one, their company came and sold you the fertilizer, and the second, their companies came and sold you the organic certificate. So what is this new compliance? What is the new things which we are expecting now is what you have to have an intel. ESG is Western government norms. It sounds very fancy, होना भी चाहिए. Environment, social governance norms. सुंदर लगता है सुनने में, होना नहीं होगा तो सारी दुनिया तबाह हो जाएगी, बर्बाद हो जाएगी. लेकिन they are highly subjective. There are not numerics, there are no formulas, there are no objective numbers on which you can be governed on the ESG parameters. What is results into is there is a bunch of people who will come and they will be sitting on your head. They will destroy your previous working and thought process, and they'll tell you the decision making, how you should take decision, how funds should behave in India, how people should behave in India, how banks should behave in India, and how you should work around so that their narrative is taken by you. This will give you a chill to tell you what I'm going to tell you now. There are think tanks globally sitting in America, Australia, Canada, many places who are just doing this, who are creating global narratives to govern you in one or other way. India is now in a position, and I'm very sure I'm carrying the message which is very clearly elaborated by the government of India, that COP 26, 27, 28, and now it's going to be 29. On the climate financing side, on the blended financing side, wherever it was committed, wherever it was said that India is on a lower emission, no money yet received by India as per the norms which were set by themselves only. Because they are all high emission countries, we were supposed to get a certain amount of money which never came on the table. Finance Minister spoke about it, Environment Minister spoke about it. I am yet to hear from our Honorable Prime Minister that one day he will speak about it. My immediate mentor, Amitabh Kant sir, spoke about it. It's only a places of meetings. So what are we doing following these trends and not developing our own economy, our own climate financing, our own blended financing models, instruments for banks, is the challenge that we are going to face to fund when you have your own intel developed to what you should be doing. And there, I can name few of them: VDAM, Freedom House, Chatham House. These all think tanks are only creating narratives that how they can still have an decision-making narrative control on countries like India, Africa, and those who are not so developed. And there are ways to do it. Organic farming is one, ESG compliance is one, there are food-related issues which we are every day facing in the WTO. When you are going and telling them that this is my Ayurvedic medicine, they are saying this is a poison. The level of arsenic and the level of lead is very high in Ayurvedic medicine. We can't import it. Now there are new compliances that we can't import your steel, we can't import your cement because you are not ESG compliant, you are not this compliant, that compliant. And when you are importing their Coca-Cola, you are importing things which is in your testing parameter is not even worth drinking. Then where is WTO? अगर आर्सेनिक और लीड मिले हुए आयुर्वेदिक दवाई को खाने से सभ्यता और मानवता नष्ट हो जाती है तो हम 1000 साल से ज़्यादा से खा रहे हैं, अभी तक हम मर चुके होते. दे कॉल इट पॉइजन, इसमें आर्सेनिक और लीड की वो ज़्यादा है मात्रा. सो दीज कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स are geopolitical conflicts which we are seeing. My request to think tanks, organizations, even to PhD Chamber of Commerce is to organize programs, conversations, dialogue where we unlearn these things which we have learned, deliberately been asked to learn, and look into our own wisdom, our own ancient Vedic culture. It is not Bhagwakaran, it is not the Hinduization or Islamization of a country, it is all about the virtue which you had in this land. And this could be the solution, this could be the transaction, rather than going and subscribing those compliances and norms and indices. Indices, if you will hear, you will go mad. Bangladesh, everybody know because of news, is 60 on the ranking of global peace, above India. Ukraine, you know, is under a fight. It's on a happiness index above India. These are global indexes. Sometimes they get exposed. These are the rankings because of which they get exposed. But if they are not getting exposed, they are creating a narrative and putting a narrative of decision making on you. That narrative you need to break, and you have to build your own climate economy. You have to build your own sustainability. And I'm sure this is very much in the content and intent of the national government. What we wish to create, life is one of the bestest example. We need to learn more in the life, and we have to start doing the practice into it. Plus, the blended financing on which India has started working. It has started working on a program on a design of $10 trillion economy, which is the climate and green economy. ये $10 trillion बनाने वाला देश जिसकी अभी economy $4.5 trillion की है. It's making uncomfortable. Many countries are becoming uncomfortable. And I am part of the conversation, I am part of the journey in the milestone every year that we have to create, is to create around 225 to 255 billion opportunity in the climate and green funding, so that we meet the milestone of a 10-year, which has to conclude on a $2 trillion economy every decade. So 2030 is going to be the first that place where $2 trillion economy on the climate and green side will be created. 2030 is 4 trillion, 2050 is 6 trillion, 2060 is 8 trillion, and 2070 is 10 trillion. Every year, every January, we have to publish with RBI and all other banks that what is the fund that has been disbursed on the green and climate economy, to which projects this has been given, and at what interest rate it has been given, and what type of ease of doing business, single window clearance has been given to that project. Whether we are meeting these milestone year by year, decade by decade target or not, that is how Government of India is working now. So the plan is not about election. Viksit Bharat is not an election campaign. The plan is not only about 2029 or 2030. Plan is about 2070. And if in between you are creating a history by becoming a 100-year-old country in 2047, then you have to choose what you have to answer to your next generation. Whether these imperatives, these disparities, and these thought processes and these binding thoughts which are being thrown on you, with good fancy marketing, could you see this or not? At the same time, when you are not only becoming a $35 trillion economy, you are also becoming a troublemaker in a couple of sectors. You are second largest road network, and you are highest in the world in the death that happens on the road. So whether you could see what you are going in the road safety or not, you are second largest truck manufacturer and second largest bus manufacturer and third largest truck manufacturer. But the trucks and buses which you are running is completely on diesel. Hardly there is an input on the running of electric trucks and electric buses. So many of the projects, many of the thought processes which are in the contradiction, whether you could see or you could not see, is going to be our answer, our responsibility when we are going to turn 100, that we could not care about it. Environment is one of them, and I, with all responsibility and seriousness, can say countries who are investing today in new cities, new climate cities, will create a future tomorrow and livable cities tomorrow. If you are not investing into your cities, you are creating another Bangalore, another Mumbai, another Delhi, another Chennai. If you invest today into a city which is livable tomorrow, the ultimate decision all of you sitting in this hall are going to take in your lifetime is to live in a city where you do not want to face congestion, where you want to breathe clean air. And if you are not, and you need a drain, you need a lot of things which are not there in today's cities. So none of these cities are qualified for me to make my home when I want to retire. So these investments are not going to be off the grid. They are going to bring in certain amount of economic development, economic input to the national economy of India. And with this, I think this conversation which you are holding, whole day all of you are going to speak about it. Lot of conversation which will come to me. Being a National Program Director for Ease of Doing Business, there are a lot of challenges on an every day we face in bringing a concept which has never been thought, or maybe was thought in the Vedic culture, but has no precedence over a period of time because of colonization. We deal with them, we bring and we make possible that each one of them, whether it's a technical, whether it's commercial, whether it's financial, can be prototyped and can be brought into a pilot label. To understand what you thought or what you believed is good for country can also be seen. I am Additional Program Director of National Highway for EV. You must have heard Delhi-Jaipur, Delhi-Agra has now become an e-highway. We are expanding to 5,500 kilometer e-highways now. Resurgent India is our partner into that. These all are made on the blended financing model. They are not made on the ESG compliances. They are not made on anything which has been propelled and propelled by the West. These all were made on the blended financing instrument, which is an annuity hybrid e-mobility model, AHEM, derived from a HAM model, hybrid annuity model, given by our Honorable Minister of Road Transport and Highways, Shri Gadkari ji, in 2015. Today, when you see roads making has improved from 9 km per day to 38 km per day, there are hybrid models. There are models which you have never seen for financing 10,000 crore rupees, 15,000 crore rupees infra, has been brought by our Honorable Minister. So you have to think out of box. Within the box, you will not be able to face and you will not be able to find a solution out of it. Thank you so much for being a patient listener and have a great day.